Hello there fellow cake friends, and welcome to this week's tutorial. Today we are going to be making a spray rose in white, and if you are wondering, have we made this before? Yes, I do have another tutorial on a peachy ombre spray rose, but today I'm going to show you how to make the rose and also going to show you how to assemble it into a really pretty half crescent on a buttercream cake. This is also a prequel to tomorrow's Bloody Halloween Massacre cake, which I am very excited about, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Lastly, before we get to it, you can grab all the tools and ingredients you will need to make this cake in the description box below. And please don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you would like to see more cake videos, and let's get to the tutorial. Start with 22 gauge wires. I'm going to remove a bunch and then I'm going to be cutting these into thirds, and you will need 1/3 of a wire per rose. Hook one end and then close the hook. This is for your centers, so we have a nice sturdy place to add the petals onto. Put a bit of shortening on your hands and then give your gum paste a good knead. This gum paste is cold. It's going to be really tough at first, but it will soften up really shortly. And you can grab my best gum paste recipe now in the description box below. I have a video for it there too. So you will take a pea-sized amount of gum paste and roll it into a really tight ball on the palm of your hand. Then you will taper one end by rolling it back and forth underneath your index finger to create a cone shape. Dip the hooked end of one wire into gum glue and wipe off the excess, then insert it into the wide part of the cone. Secure it by pinching around the base and reshaping the bud. Allow this to dry for at least 24 hours, but I tend to make these in bulk in advance so they can dry for much longer, and I always have them on hand. So I have 10 centers here. I'm going to make 5 small roses and 5 large roses for this 5-inch cake. And the way I'm going to be arranging these is into a really pretty crescent moon shaped crown for the top of the cake. So I will give the gum paste a really quick knead again, just to make sure it's nice and softened. And then I will flatten and roll it out. So you can pass it through the pasta machine, going from number 1 all the way up to number 5. If you're new to using a pasta machine for your gum paste flowers, I go through how to use it in my gum paste ranunculus video, which I will link below this one. You can of course roll this by hand, it just takes a bit longer. So here is my gum paste, and I have 3 sizes of cutters, which I will link to also in the description box below. For each flower I'm cutting out 1 small blossom and 1 medium blossom, and for the large flowers I will need the same 2 blossoms plus 1 large blossom as well. So that would be 10 small, 10 medium, and 5 large blossoms in total. Notice that whenever I cut out one of the flowers, I rub it on the palm of my hand. This is just to achieve a sharper and cleaner cut. You'll need your dried centers, your foam mat, veining tool, ball tool, a toothpick, shortening, your gum glue, and a piece of styrofoam to dry your flowers in, as well as your blossoms, which are going to be covered right now so they don't dry out. Start with one of your small blossoms and the medium ball tool. You will thin the edges and try not to ruffle them. You want these to be really nice and delicate, but not ruffly at all, so I'm going to flatten it out with my fingers. Then I'll move it to the edge of the mat and use my veining tool to texture each petal. So I just run the tool back and forth on each petal, applying more pressure on the outside of the petal and trying to leave the center as untouched as possible so that I can keep some structure there. If you find your veining tool is getting sticky at any point, you can always rub a tiny bit of shortening on it just to prevent that. Flip your blossom over, and then we are going to use the gum glue to brush the first, which is going to be the top petal, and the 3rd petal if you're looking clockwise. Make sure to brush the center as well, and then you will brush a V shape on the remaining 3 petals. Now you'll thread this blossom onto one of your wires, topped with the flower center that's nice and dry. And you will start with the first petal that was fully brushed in glue. Wrap the right side around the bud if you're looking from the outside of the flower so that the left side is left open. Grab the third petal, which was also fully brushed in glue, and tuck the right side of that petal into the opening flap of the first petal. Close both of those petals around your center. This will create a really nice tight bud on which we can build the rest of the flower. Next, grab the fifth petal and attach the right side of it. Then move on to the fourth and do the same. Then tuck the second petal into the open flap of the fifth. Tighten up those petals by just gently pulling them around, and then just secure the base by giving it a nice press, and this will also prevent any bulkiness from building up. Grab your toothpick and put the petal between your index finger and the tip of the toothpick and open up the petals a little bit. So you're just rolling them outwards very gently. Now just adjust the petals as necessary, and then you can allow this to dry in your styrofoam as we work on the next set of petals. So we are going to be repeating the same process as we did with the first set of petals with the medium blossom now. So first I am starting with thinning out the petals using the medium ball tool, trying not to ruffle them too much. I will then flatten them out gently and move that to the edge of my mat, where I can then texture them using the veining tool and running it gently back and forth to create a very nice texture on each of the petals. After we attach this layer of petals, this can be the end if you're just making the small flowers. If not, I will show you how to add the last layer of petals to make one of the large roses. Comment below and tell me your favorite color of spray rose. I love those ones that are the super light pink ones, almost white. Those ones are so gorgeous. So now you will brush the V shape on every single one of these 5 petals. And also don't forget to add glue to the center. So you're going to thread this onto the same flower, and you can kind of freestyle whichever petal you want to add, but I generally go with number 5 first, and then I go with number 4 afterwards. So I'll overlap that, and then number 2 I will tuck into number 5. And then I will attach number 1 and number 3 on the exterior of the flower. I'll smooth out the base and make sure that all those petals are really secure, and then grab the toothpick and create a V shape on each of these petals by rolling the 2 edges backwards away from the flower. And you can give the petals little pinches here and there to add extra texture. And make sure to just have fun with this. You can roll some of the petals outwards and some of them inwards. And you can even tear some of them to make them look more realistic. And once you are happy with your flower, you can, as I said, leave this to dry completely if you're ending at the small blossom. If not, we are going to be adding the final layer of petals on. And when you're drying these, dry them horizontally, stuck in a piece of styrofoam. So let's finish up with this last layer. I'm starting again by thinning the petals. This time I think I am using the larger ball tool. It doesn't really matter, but the larger one will help prevent too much ruffling, which of course we do want to avoid. And again, I will texture it using the veining tool. Then flip it and brush the V shape on each of these petals, as well as making sure that the center has a bit of glue on it too. So I will thread this onto my flower, And then I'm going to go with the same pattern as the previous layer. I will start with number 5 and then number 4 overlapping. Then I will tuck in number 2. And then finally add 1 and 3 on the outside. So give this a really nice firm press around the base to make sure none of these petals are going to fall off because they are starting to get bigger now. Then you can shape these petals with the toothpick in a V shape. So you'll bend either side backwards and then give some nice pinches here and there until you're happy with the way it looks. Make sure every flower looks a little bit different. And then when you're happy with it, again, you will dry this horizontally in a piece of styrofoam. When all of the flowers have dried at least overnight, we will prepare them for the cake. I'm cutting these to about 1.5 inches or 3 centimeters long. If this is going into a client's cake, make sure to have some cocktail straws in which you can insert the stems before adding them to the cake. So first I will wrap the stem with white floral tape and make sure it goes right down to the very end, and then I will tear off any excess and make sure it's closed. This will make sure that the wire is nice and sealed in before we add it to the straw, and this is non-toxic tape. So I will be wrapping all of my stems, and for me that is 10 in total, 5 small and 5 large blossoms. I'm going to be inserting these into a white sharply masked cake here, and you can grab my Italian meringue buttercream recipe in the description box below, or join me for my creative buttercream class there as well. So this is the crescent shape that I'm going to aim for. Just begin inserting the flowers carefully. Try not to break any petals, and you can use your needle nose pliers to help you insert them if you find any of your petals breaking. So I'm inserting these back and forth just so that I have some difference in the way that they face, and just building up my crescent shape, starting with the larger flowers. And then afterwards, I'm going to be using those smaller flowers to kind of extend the shape a little bit, as well as fill in any gaps that I see. And there you have it, an elegant, simple white cake with mini roses, which we are going to make into a bloody Halloween massacre cake tomorrow. Make sure to stick around for that. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stick around for tomorrow's video where I'm going to show you how to make a bloody Halloween massacre cake. Whether you make this one with or without the edible blood, please don't forget to tag me on social media at Finespun Cakes with 2 S's everywhere so I can see your work. And before you go, head down to the description box below, grab all the tools, ingredients, and everything else I mentioned in this video right down there, and I will see you tomorrow.